What next for Manchester United, and should Erik Ten Hag go? Well, that's one of the big questions that's been cropping up in football this week, especially since the 3-0 defeat that Man United had to Tottenham at home on Sunday. A red card for Bruno Fernandes, and sort of rolled over, didn't they, to get their tummy tickled by Tottenham. Erik Ten Hag, well, that's the main talking point. That's the main point of consternation for Manchester United fans at the moment. Should they keep Erik Ten Hag or not? Now, most Man United fans seem to think that, from what I've seen, that he should stay. But I'm looking at it from the outside, and I'm seeing a team that really isn't improving. 3 years of his reign now. Well, this is into his third season, and he's brought this group of players together. He signed a lot of players that he wanted. He specifically wanted himself. He's got rid of quite a lot of players that he didn't want. He's assembled a side that should play in the way that he wants. But they're not showing many signs of getting any better. I must admit, with the new additions such as Matthijs de Ligt, Bajawi, Ugarte, I expected Man United, to be honest, I predicted 4th place for them this year. And a pretty good improvement in their playing style and how they would approach the game. It hasn't really happened. I'm looking at their results here, and going back to the beginning of the season, it was a draw in the Community Shield, then 1-0 at home to Fulham. Now, Fulham are a decent side. I think Tony Khan has done a good job galvanising that organisation, and I think Fulham will be a fairly stiff test for most teams this season. So that was a good result for Man United. Losing to Brighton away, not a disgrace, but again, it's probably a game that Man United really should be expecting to, I think still expecting to win, even with Brighton's much improved profile over the last so many years. And then beaten at home 3-0 by Liverpool, which again, for a Man United fan, that's pretty much the cardinal sin, pretty much the worst case scenario almost. Maybe apart from Man City beating them at home, I don't know. But and then 3-0 against Southampton. Southampton down to 10. But it was a decent performance by Man United, expected to win that game and did. Then beat Barnsley 7-0 in the League Cup. Again, it's Barnsley, neither here nor there, but it was a good performance. Players were starting to look confident. Marcus Rashford in particular took his goals exceptionally well and had the air of a man who was starting to come back into some form. Then a 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace, which was disappointing. Again, I think Crystal Palace are going to be one of the favourites for relegation this season. Then into the Europa League, Christian Eriksen scores a fantastic opening goal, and then plays his part in conceding the equaliser to FC Twente. So again, no victory for them, just the 1 point for the league stage. And then this match against Tottenham, where it was very, very disappointing. Brendan Johnson scored after just 3 minutes. Kulusevski added the second shortly after the break, and then Dominic Solanke picked up the third goal. Bruno Fernandes sent off in the first half for his first ever red card for Manchester United. My point is, there just does not seem... It seems like Man United always seem to show up against the big teams. They haven't been doing that. The games against the bigger teams, the 2 big teams they faced this season, have been the ones where they've failed the hardest, shall we say. Ten Hag might have been on borrowed time anyway, considering What happened in, winning the FA Cup was probably the only thing that kept him his job. Gave him a new contract, but it hasn't really changed. Spent over £600 million on players in the Ten Hag around since Ten Hag's been there. So, and it's not really got any better. It's not got any better. And what do you do? Because the greatest case of giving a manager time was obviously Sir Alex Ferguson, where I don't think he won anything for the first 4 years of his tenure, and there were a lot of calls for his head, but they stuck with him, and he became the greatest manager to ever do it. If Ten Hag gets the time that Ferguson got, and by that time I don't mean 16 years or whatever it was, I mean, excuse me, sorry about that. I mean, if he gets another 2 years, say, is there going to be any improvement? If the team was getting better and playing better football and the results were improving somewhat, then you would expect Ten Hag to be the favourite to keep his job. You would expect them to think, well, you know what, we've got the new stadium coming. It might take a few years, but if Ten Hag continues this rate of improvement, then we're going to be challenging for the Premier League title by the time that stadium comes in. At the moment, they're not even looking like they could challenge for top 4 by the time the new stadium comes. If Ten Hag continues in the role. So, what's my opinion? Well, I think that I don't like sacking managers quickly. I do believe in giving managers time. When all possible, but I don't think this can continue. I think for Manchester United's sake, let's face it, I'm a Leeds United fan, right? I should be reveling in what's going on here. I'm not at all. Manchester United, one of the greatest clubs in world football. They can't continue like this. It needs a reset. It needs that the ownership as the new ownership has come in. They've put some good things into place, but for me, until they properly fix the stadium, either by renovating it or rebuilding it, and until we get some football on the field that is exciting, attacking, and ruthless like Manchester United used to be. You used to give Manchester United a sniff, and they were all over you. They would not give up. This is why the Fergie time phrase was coined, because you could not go into a game, even 2 goals up against Manchester United, you could not go into the last 20 minutes of a game 2 goals up and think that you had it sealed, think that you had the 3 points in the bag, because they would keep going and keep going and keep going, and until that final whistle went, they were still, they still had a chance of winning the game or getting something out of the game, no matter how bad the situation was. Now I just don't see that. I see Manchester United playing now, and I think, well, they're not likely to get back into games. They're not dominating the flow of the game even. Talk about who's going to replace Ten Hag. I'll be honest, I don't care. Because they're going to pick somebody who's got a name value. They're going to pick somebody like Simone Inzaghi or Gareth Southgate or Graham Potter or someone who's got name value, but it's not going to matter unless the culture changes at the club, unless it returns to the excellence that they used to put out on the pitch. It's not going to matter, because I can tell you now, if they put Southgate in, people are going to complain. If they put Graham Potter in, they're going to go, oh, well, he failed at Chelsea. They put Simone Inzaghi in, they're going to say, well, he's never managed in England. There's your answers for those 3 guys that might be the main contenders. And for me, the club, if the club's serious about this, they either need to stay with Ten Hag and say, right, Eric Ten Hag is our manager for the next 3 years. He's got a 3-year contract. But they need to turn around and say, right, he's not leaving, no matter what happens. Even if we get relegated, he's not leaving. They need to either commit to this guy 100% and keep him, and say that they're going to keep him for as long as he wants to do the job, or get rid of him now, go with somebody else, ignore the noise because there'll be a lot of it, and get back to winning football. Because end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to keep the Man United fans happy, is winning on the pitch. You can't go from being so amazingly excellent to being so startlingly mediocre as they have done, without something going completely wrong in the organisation. And the new owners, Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos Group, they've got to put their heads together, and they've got to really say, what do we want this club to be? Do we want this club to be the force, the juggernaut that it was before? If they don't, then you do GTFO and let somebody else do it. Because it's not one of the greatest clubs in football, it's one of the greatest sporting brands in the world. And it needs to be represented as so on the pitch. I think that if Ten Hag's results don't improve, I think they should probably give him maybe another month or two. If they are thinking about sacking him, give him another month or two. Let's see if it improves. If it doesn't, get him gone. Get somebody else in, because they've got good players, and anybody who says otherwise is an idiot. They have got very, very good players. They've brought some good signings in. They just need to gel. They need to fight for each other, and at the moment it seems like it's a group of individuals who have forgotten what it means to play for Manchester United, and they can't be having that, and we certainly can't be having that in terms of football fans, because I think football fans, for most of us, having Manchester United up there and challenging makes things more interesting, and I feel like it can be done, but will they do it? That's the question. Will they make that decision? Well, we'll have to see over the coming weeks and find out. The other point that's been going around recently is the fixture list, and is it too much? Well, I'm just looking here at Manchester United's fixtures as I already had them ready. But just in September alone, they played 6 matches. That doesn't sound like loads and loads and loads. But then if you look at the fixtures for October, they've got another 6 matches. That isn't too bad, actually. They've got 8 matches in December. But their schedule isn't actually as bad as what it could be. But you've got League Cup games and things to be factored into that. But Jurrien Timber spoke out this morning, the Arsenal defender, about this, and he said that it's good that players are speaking up, because playing, some teams are playing 2 matches in 3 days, and that's too much. And I agree. I really agree. You can't expect players to play at a level that the fans expect. And I hate that this is the thing that I'm having to say, but with things like sports betting being so big and so many people having interest in that, they demand that the best players are playing, that they play to their best, because otherwise they get arsey, you get these entitled pricks who think that because they put a $5 on somebody to score a goal, that means that they're beholden to them in terms of, if they didn't score, you ruined my bet. Well, shut up. It's the most entitled, stupid thing you've ever heard in your life. But when there are too many matches, you can't get the best performance out of the players. The managers can't get everybody recovered and fit. There's more niggling injuries because the matches are coming thicker and faster. You might have had that extra day or two to recover. Now you don't, and now suddenly when you're playing 3 matches in 7 days, you have to. That cycle speeds up. You have to then. You've also got to sacrifice some training as well, because every match that you have, a day or two of training goes by the wayside. And that doesn't help teams, as we've just spoke about, like Manchester United, try and get better because, what should we work on this on the training ground for a few days? No, we've got a match in 2 days. People love to say, because footballers are rich, that, they should work harder than everybody, they should, they don't work as hard as people in a normal job. Well, people in a normal job don't have to run 10 kilometres in the space of 2 hours. People in a normal job don't get people waiting for them to go to another town so that their house can be burgled. People in a normal job don't have to think about the opinions of millions of people if they make a mistake. There's a lot of things wrong with football. There's a lot of things wrong with professional sport in general. But the players being paid that amount of money is not their fault. Right? There was a fellow I interacted with on Instagram earlier on. He was saying, back in the day people used to play all these matches and there was never any problems. Players need to get a life. Players need to grow up. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So if they used to play probably about 45 games in the season, if you count the cups, if you count the league, the average sort of cup run of 2-3 matches, for the League Cup and the FA Cup, for instance, maybe a few European games. So you're talking maximum 45. You're probably talking maximum 50 matches. These days, people are playing 60, 65, 70 matches, even. So I would like to ask anybody, and I know this. I work in retail, right? I have been asked to do this. If your workload gets increased by 1/3, and you have the same amount of time to do it in, and get paid the same amount of money, you're not going to be happy. The players don't get a say in how many games are played. It's about time that they did, right? It's about time that the players were consulted in terms of this. You can't, because it all goes by the wayside. More games means less time with their families, less time to train, less time to recover, less time to implement the manager's philosophies. And then you get a worse product on the pitch for the fans and for the investors and for the league. You get more injuries as a result of the extra games. So then you're getting also then a worse product because potentially the best players in the world aren't playing the league games and they're sat in a treatment room somewhere. It needs to stop. Adding extra matches to the European competitions this season, it remains to be seen whether it's going to make the European competitions better. We don't know, right? We can only, I think truly, you'll need 2 or 3 seasons of the new format in order for it to actually come to fruition as to whether it is good or bad. But adding extra matches is not helpful. And, one idea that a couple of my friends have had is taking the Premier League teams out of the EFL Cup and making it a competition that just the Football League clubs can enter. I think that's actually a great idea. I think that means that, and also you could still have a Conference League place for the winner, which I think would be fantastic. Give the lower league clubs something to play for, something to really strive for. You could stop some of the instances that have happened over the last few years of some of the lower league teams not really caring about the cup because they're focused on promotion or avoiding relegation. You'd have that extra incentive. I know if Leeds United, for instance, if we ended up staying in the Championship but we had a chance to get into Europe through the Conference League, I think that'd be fantastic. Something else to play for. Then the Premier League teams, they would save a few games a season, and then everybody would be sort of playing on a bit more of an even footing. You've got the World Club Championship, which is the Club World Cup, which is being held, which the next time that's being held is going to be held with 32 teams. How many teams do you need in that? You know, they're gonna do it, I believe, like a World Cup format, like group stage knockouts, like the World Cup. And it's just more games upon games upon games. You know, you win that, and that's another 7 or 8 games. 7 games, isn't it? Added on to yet more games and more games and more games. And then when you come back from a tournament like that, you've got fixture congestion because your league games have been postponed. And everything's all even more shoved together. I don't know what the solution is, apart from, you know, money can't be the be all and end all. Like the governing bodies cannot let money be the deciding factor. At some point, something's got to give, and these players are giving, and their bodies are giving out. We need to have common sense and protect the athletes, because without the athletes there's no sport, is there? You know, without these players, if all the players decided they didn't want to play, there wouldn't be the sport of football. So you've got to take them into account. You can't just brush the concerns under the carpet and hope they'll go away and hope that they'll be silenced. I think football needs to have a long look at itself and realise exactly what it wants to be before it's too late. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. This has been the Andrew Woodhouse Show. I'm really happy that you've joined me again. I'm sorry for the lack of videos for the last couple of weeks. I have had a bad throat. You can probably tell it's still a little bit there. I've not really been able to talk that well, but I'm back. Should be doing semi-regular videos. There won't be a video tomorrow, so I'm going to play golf. But there'll definitely be one before the end of the week. So thank you everybody for watching. Please like it, share it, subscribe to it if you enjoy what you see here. And then, from me today, a very, very, very rainy Wakefield. It's goodbye. I'll see you next time.